Well, hello, Good Vibes Show fans. Welcome to episode 4, season 15 of the Good Vibes Show by me, Jerry Haley, part of the Special Chronicles Network. So, for folks, now you know this is a very fun season we'll talk about. But first off, I hope you all been catching up on seasons 1 through 14 of the Good Vibes Show, as well as the first 3 episodes of season 15, as well as catching up on the recap specials and my special, The Road to 2022 USA Games, which talks about my train up to and the results of from the 2022 Special Olympics USA Games in Orlando, Florida. So, folks, obviously, season 15, I'm going to talk about it again. This season's all about the history of the Good Vibe Show. And so far, we've talked about premise, the methodologies, how recordings, and then how I ended up getting on Spotify and basically actually Spotify, social media in that process, as well as how I joined the Special Chronicles Network on there. So I think a fun thing I want to talk about right now before we talk about the fun tech stuff, which is for another day, we'll talk about the guest I've had on the show. And so the very first guest I've had on the show was John, who is the founder of John Socks. John's Crazy Socks, actually. My apologies, John. And his dad. That was Mark. John Cronin and Mark Cronin, the proprietors of John's Crazy Socks. So they were the first ever guests on the show. And I think it was an opportunity to evolve the show in there. And so after them being a guest on the show, every so often, I think in season 3, I try to have a guest every Friday for some reason. I think I went that methodology. So I've had coworkers, friends I've made over the years. I think eventually there were a lot of different things. Like it was mostly coworkers, to be honest, and then some outside people, of course, on the show, friends. Actually, it was various folks being on the show. I think the last guest ever to be on the show was probably Daniel, I believe. I had to double check my notes. Obviously, I might stand corrected on that, but like, yeah, him being on the show when the Good Vibe Show joined the Special Chronicles Network, because believe it or not, I was on his podcast quite a bit, believe it or not. So, but yeah, each guest brought something different. I think there were some fun special ones I did. And I did actually did one with my friend Ben Hack in Australia, which was a very fun one to do. The first, I think, true international podcast, yes, on the show. And I think, unfortunately, I've never been able to do it again. But I might have to go look back at some my notebooks because I think it was the first 5 seasons. I don't think season 6 had a guest, but first 5, I'm pretty sure season 6 or 7 is when the Gavesh Show joined the Special Chronicles Network. Daniel was then a guest on that season. I had to double check, obviously, because obviously, so yeah, folks. So it was kind of a Mona Dini's guest was kind of worth it because I thought it was just a cool thing to do because a lot of people did it on podcasts and I kind of went away from it, unfortunately, to be honest with folks. And the reason why I kind of went away from it is because I ended up doing all my recordings, believe it or not, on Mondays these days. And ironically, the Give Back Show is released on Tuesdays, if you pay attention to that. Ever. It's like, so yeah, the possibility of getting someone to be on the show is not easy to do guests. And maybe I do want to go back to having a guest every so often. But it's kind of a unique thing why that happened. And so, folks, excuse me here, folks, as I Ishmael's on camera, but also you hear me saying it on audio. So, like, this tells you how ad lib the Goodbye Show is, why I have never used the script other than for the sponsor ad and my own reminders at the end. So, like, you actually kind of knows that sounds very scripted. But this, like, it's never scripted. So, yeah, I think looking back at all the guests I've had on the show, obviously Nicole Kraser, who's a very good friend of mine from Special Olympics Virginia, has been a good one. Ben Rubel, he's a big person who's now working for Special Olympics Arizona. My friend Brock, who now works in Special Olympics North America. Obviously, I have so many different, a few coworkers have been on this show. I think my friend Billy has been on this. I've had some various coworkers on here. I think, honestly, some of the best guests I've had. I'm gonna put George Smirsky on there, who's the other co-host of the Sounds Like Autism podcast. He was kind of a big one to be on this show back in season 4, like in the early years of the podcast. I think as the show progressed, like I said, guests were kind of more seldom or hardly at all because I feel like it was not easy to get people to do it. And I think I've been desiring to go back to guests I've been desiring to go back there, but I kind of said no. I think some people might have liked the guests on the show. I think some of those episodes are kind of the best ones. I think obviously my department head, which was the ironically that one was we timed it just right to release it on New Year's Day. We just did it. We just went for it and it worked. But like yeah, that one worked. Like my friend Leah had a good one for my friend and coworker Leah had a good one for the holidays. I did a lot of ones themed on special days, and then some I just did. But I think as the show has grown past that point of the guests, I think it feels nostalgic every now and then to listen to one of those episodes, maybe. But now it's more like maybe I should go back. And I know people enjoyed having the guests on the show. Honestly, I don't know if they did, but like I said, people did enjoy having them on here. I think some people wanted to be on the show, and I think it's an opportunity if I ever go to like a once a month format for the show, which would be kind of a good thing. I can easily have a guest on the show and get them on or do the recording, sort of have actual genuine conversation on the show. I think going back to guests would be a great thing for the show. I think I am highly considering it for future seasons when I redevelop how this show is gonna go. But as it stands, like some of the greatest episodes, excuse me, there, folks, were with guests, and I think I kind of said that the very last one was, I believe, with Daniel. I had to double check my notes, as I said. He may not have been, but if he was, yeah. But I think there was a few others who were on there too who've been part of the show, and I think it's kind of become a phenomenal with those guests on. I think every now and then, when I'll be honest with her, my department head, whenever I meet with her, she says, "Is the Give Vibe show still going?" And I guess it is. It's just I schedule when I do episodes because I had to do it around my time. Everything. So yeah, I think eventually going back to guests will happen, folks. But the history of how many guests I've had on the show, it's not a very small handful, I will say, or more than a few handfuls. But I think some of the best ones I enjoyed was obviously my friend Josh Smirsky on here, but also my coworker and friend Ray Roberts, who, if you look up the fame mishap of coin toss for a Thanksgiving Day NFL game, he was one of the captains in that mishap coin toss. So he's literally in the frame when it happened. So it's kind of like a cool thing. But yeah, it's like Ray, my friend coworker Ray, and who's also my friend Josh Smirsky, Mark and John Cronin being on here. It's like so many amazing people have been on here. I think it's hard to remember who's been on the show, but I think every single one of those guests who've been on the show have been part of this journey with me, and I kind of appreciate the fact that they've been on this journey with me. And eventually, one day, maybe I'll get some very important person on the show one day, but who knows when that happens. So I just thank you all being part of those journey, all those guests, and I thank you again for helping me make this show amazing as well. So, folks, here's our great sponsor ad from the Special Chronicles Network. The Give I Show is proud to be featured on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to follow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, now known as X. Be sure to also subscribe to the newsletter and find the podcast page for this podcast, The Give Vibe Show by me, Jerry Holy. If you love The Give Vibe Show, then you love the other podcasts on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to subscribe to our podcast, newsletter, and to follow us on social media. And to support the podcast on Special Chronicles so we can continue our mission of giving respect and voice to people with special talents and abilities, visit specialchronicles.com/give to make a gift today. Thank you again for being a great sponsor of Special Chronicles Network, because not being part of you, as you being also me being a guest on your thing, but also being a guest on my show, has really elevated the Give Vibe Show. And folks, remember to follow the Give Vibe Show on Instagram at Give Vibes by JH, Facebook, facebook.com/Give Vibes by JH. Switch it out for you when you do YouTube. Switch Facebook out for YouTube. Same thing. Also subscribe to the Give Vibe Show by me, Jerry Hoy, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you also want to personally support me more, look me up on Redbow, Jerry M. Hoy. You get some cool, look at some of the unique designs. I'm constantly trying to come up with more fun designs. Obviously, one of them is the flower on this Hawaiian shirt. It's been a fun, unique one that I came out with. I thank you all tuning in for episode 4, season 15 of the Good Vibe Show, folks. Part of the Special Chronicles Network. I thank you so much for being a very active listener and being able to take in all this positivity and history of the Good Vibe Show. So until next week for episode 5, folks, peace out. Boop, blah, blah. Have a great time, folks. Have a positive week. I'll see you next week for episode 5 of season 15 of the Good Vibe Show, part of the Special Chronicles Network. Till then, bye, everyone.